think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
That's a lot of lobbying.
Yeah, it is. Because they know what's up. They know where the goods are.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of money, man. It's a lot of money. And yeah, but Chris is right. Like I think they refer to it as disaster capitalism. Like they created disaster. You wonder though, like, is it conscious? Like I feel like it's part of because I'm hesitant to think it's like some sort of Machiavellian scheme, but obviously it's still also some sort of scheme. I just feel like it's ideological, and like they're like, government's the problem, and then
I just don't know where do you talk yourself, like, so like the odd person and the odd baby is now like dying in Canadian waiting rooms. Like, you're cool just going to bed like that? Like, I'm going to sleep like an angel tonight. Mm-hmm. Privatization. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, dead babies. Like, you're a fucking animal.
Yeah.
You're the reason that we'll never make it off this planet alive.
I don't know if we're going to make it off this planet ever anyway.
Not us. I just mean, like, as a species, we can just fucking roll up into a ball and snuggle down in the grass and get ready for extinction, because we're just going to do that to ourselves.
Oh, that's the spirit. I wish that might just be the new introduction to our show.
That's what people come to us for.
Yeah.
Well, fucking positive outlook.
Yeah.
You may as well. You know what? You know what's a good segue there? You may as well just fucking whip it out, have a quick jerk. Just enjoy yourself.
It's about stress relief. And right. I advise each of you to do the same if you want to get out of here alive.
You gotta fucking, your mind's got to be working on the right level. The only way is with a little release.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Chris. Is there something you'd like to say before I introduce the topic of today's episode?
No, I was gonna go for a segue, but I couldn't do better than that.
Yeah. All right, good.
Was it gonna be a jerk off segue too, though?
Fuck.
I was gonna take a different direction.
It's like three different types of jerk off segues where like just colliding into each other.
Feel free to divert back to it though at any time. Really, I'm all ears.
No, I'm there. That's won me over.
All right, so we're talking Green Inferno. Eli Roth, the Jew bear himself, or the bear Jew. Sorry,
the bear Jew.
This one 2013, but it didn't get theatrical release until 2015. Yeah, well, it's Christmas time, right? So it's time for us to talk about something a little uncomfortable. Time to talk about this movie wasn't as uncomfortable as I was led to expect, like based on the topic and like what the controversy that surrounded it. I thought it was going to be really super offensive, and it was in its own way, but it like, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll get into it. But.
Yeah, I agree with that. I went in like really like teeth gritted, kind of ready to go down into the muck here. But like, I mean, I've seen worse in pretty standard fucking horror fare. So I'm not sure what happened here, but it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't comedic, but it was so bad.
Yeah.
It was almost comedic.
Yeah, they was trying for comedy at times. I think.
Yeah.
He says that the scare is the star of a horror film, so he gets like, not big name actors and that sort of thing. And you can tell that this whole thing was built around the butchery scene for the first that first guy who gets it, because that's like 5 minutes of solid like cooking and like butchering.
Yeah.
It's get involved, and then the plane crash. And other than that, there's really not a whole lot of movie around it.
No, and they had a great build up, like a real long build up. So like you're just waiting for them to fucking get it. Everything was looking like it was going sideways at multiple points. You know, you was giving out some rapey vibes. You know, it just didn't. Everything was uncomfortable. And then just nothing happened until the plane crash.
But when it does, like that, and I agree with Chris, like there is particularly the plane crash is just like really exceptional violence, like or like bodies falling out of trees and like things going through people's, like when they're barreling around and the black guy just like vomits all over himself.
Oh yeah,
Zero gravity puke.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh Jesus, and I shouldn't refer to him as the black guy, but this movie treats him like the black guy, so I feel very comfortable going down that route. You know, like he is the first and longest victim of butchery. You know, killed right off the bat, and he's sort of like the loser character who's in love with had puppy love with Justine.
And they even do the self-aware gag right in I think it was on one of the bus rides or whatever, where he's like, there's nothing more sad than a fat guy in love.
Yeah.
Like, don't do this to yourself. It was like fucking awful. I'm like, wow, that's not that's not funny, and B, like I guess they're just trying to generate sympathy. I knew they were like he to me was like a lead protagonist right out of the gate. You know, he was like the moral compass of the whole fucking group.
It kind of is. Yeah, sorry, Chris.
No, that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, he is. He's because, like, especially after we learn about Alejandro. I don't know. Okay, so I guess for those of you who haven't watched The Green Inferno, you know, like, don't unless you want to understand what we're talking about. Okay, well, maybe do. In the spirit of Christmas, maybe you want to give yourself a little treat. But it's basically these activist kids. They end up going to Peru to stop this. The bulldozing of some sort of rainforest that would expose an indigenous tribe that hadn't what's the word, like, uncontacted, and so they stop that, and then as they're flying away, they crash, and then it turns out, ironically, that the very tribe that they're trying to rescue is a bunch of cannibals, and horrible violence ensues at that point, and then the lead character Justine, spoilers, she escapes, and I guess we can talk about what happens at the end after that. But that's the basic story. It's not a whole lot there.
Also, like, I don't know about you guys, but like, politically speaking, I'm a little confused as to and like, please fill me in, like, as to why this would get so much heat. Like, nothing really, like, any racist kind of like agenda is sort of like demystified by the comedy, and also the fact that there's like a sort of like a almost like a documentary with Eli going and meeting this tribe and screening Cannibal Holocaust, which they all thought was hilarious, and growing up with all these people and like asking them like to be involved in the movie and having them all like be involved with the crew and on the set, and it's just it was apparently this like beautiful experience for everybody, and like, so like I'm just sort of like, I'm bewildered as to like what. And then any message that you know how he sort of like leans on the lefties,
yeah,
you know, that they're idiots and no. All of that's sort of like unwound as the plot goes through, and then really like capitalist greed sort of takes over as a bad guy, and it's not like, I don't see it. I don't see the controversy.
and I'm sure Chris has some thoughts as well, but like I'm hesitant to think that Eli Roth is actually doing something smart in this story. Um, but like through the use of the cannibal, like the cannibal has always played like a really important role in Western conceptions of what civilization is. And it's often, historically, and I got some quotes from like Montaigne here, and that, like that it's sort of a mirror for civilization. And like, yes, these people who are so close to nature are awful and violent, but there's an injustice in us seeing that their violence and not recognizing it in ourselves. And it's meant to point out our sort of hypocrisy in the same way of like something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is meant to do the same, and I'm again, I don't want to give him too much credit, but I think something like that is definitely at play here, and he's conscious, or appears to be conscious, of like what the cannibal represents, and tries to work with it. That's why they evokes female genital mutilation. So like, fuck, like that always gets me worked up. And like as a basic concept, like it's a real hobby horse for me to get angry about that. And it, when you start having all these interventionist thoughts, we got to go in and it plays with those things too. We got to go and stop these savages from doing this savage shit. So yeah, like I that was a lot of talk, but I think the point I'm trying to make is that I largely agree with you that I think this movie doesn't deserve the extent of the criticism that it received from some quarters. I think people were just like, I read one of the reviews and they were just like, this movie doesn't take into account that Brazilian people, and it takes place in Peru, but they were talking about Brazil for some reason, and yeah, just like, there's all this colonial genocide, and I'm like, well, this movie doesn't shy away from the fact that there's colonial genocide. But it kind of wants to do something else than focus on that, So I don't know. That was a lot of talk, but I think I kind of agree with you.
I've got a bit of a different angle there, and I think
Okay, yeah,
it was like yeah, it wasn't what I expected it was going to be. I agree that like Roth's angle is different, but what I kind of saw in it is, so often cannibals are also this image of the faraway savage, like I guess like something that has to be conquered, or that white people have to bring civilization to, the white man's burden kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is ironically like more modern. It's almost like a paranoid isolationist fantasy where it's almost saying it's every man for itself. Like, there's just all savagery out there. Just kind of be grateful for whatever scraps of civilization we have. It's almost the end process of that, like that colonizing instinct is just to say, holy shit, it's crazy out there. Do not go out. Don't have causes. Just be happy with what you have. I think, yeah, it's you see kind of, it touches on, I think, a little bit Hollywood might be its target a little bit too, like this idea, like when she goes to Alejandro and wants to be taught by him, like how do you do this, and he's like, what's your cause, what are you passionate, what's your one thing, and you have to shame them. So it's like it's all a PR stunt, it's all spectacle, it's all just kind of like getting up there and bringing attention to a cause without doing anything in his conception. And then when they're driving around in Peru, they're in those little carts, and there's celebrities' names on the back of them, like Brad Pitt and all that stuff. So I think that might be
right.
Little dig.
Yeah, actually, this too. And again, I'm so hesitant to give him so much credit and say like these, like there's, but yeah, the camera features very heavily in this, and
yeah, that's
it is
done. We have the camera. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and like James is saying, it in the end, like, okay, so when Alejandro finally like snaps, or it's revealed that he's a piece of shit. I mean, everybody suspected it just based on what he seemed like. He he starts like 9/11 was an inside job, and don't you know the corporations control everything, and it's like all these left wing circa War on Terror conspiracy theories, like leftist conspiracy theories, and like all conspiracy theorizing at a certain point, I mean, or most of it leads to like this profound cynicism, which is in line, and you end up in line with capital, which is exactly what happened. Like, like everybody's connected, and don't you realize?
It's quietism. It's saying like, yeah, like everything's corrupt, so don't even fight it. Just go along with it. You'll get your piece too.
Yeah, and then the special cynicism at the end that's attached to that is like he essentially becomes like a Che Guevara shirt.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And just
it
pops on board. She like ultimately like she's manipulating the cause too, right? Like she's like, I had no problems at all. I felt very safe with the tribe. Nothing happened. She's getting her message out there. She's manipulating it the way that she wants to be, so that she can be a player.
Yeah, and it's completely in keep. Like, and it's so cynical. Like just again for those who hadn't seen it, she like after she survives, like she lies about her experience with the tribe and says like everybody died in the plane crash and everything was good and the tribe was great, and the only time I had any trouble is when the shipping companies come along, not the shipping company, the mining company or whatever they are, and like you could argue that that's actually a proper humanitarian act in that moment, or not humanitarian, but like a preservationist. Like it's the means by which she accomplishes the goal in the end, and it's not through activism; it's through manipulation and lies. Through the UN, the UN plays way too much.
The UN.
Yeah, you're just like, oh Jesus, like, and I think that ties into also to everything we're talking about. Like, there is like the UN features very prominently in a lot of conspiracy theorizing, and in a lot of concerns about the sovereignty of the nation and that sort of thing. And I think it's significant that she's the daughter of a UN lawyer, and it's
world order.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I read into it also that maybe Justine did all of that just to make 100% sure that Alejandro got eaten.
There's that too.
Like that it was just a pure act of cynical malice, just like an act of pure revenge, and then just move on with colonial life.
I think that's right. Yeah.
I don't like, and then that's what I mean. That there were so many like flip flopping of themes that like I just don't like. I don't know if like if reviewers were just like a lot of people that like drudged up like hate on this were just like stupid. Like, did you not interpret like what was happening, or like I don't know. I just don't. It wasn't fucking deep. It was funny. It was stupid. Both parties, like all sides of political air, were represented in a dumb way. Like there wasn't. I don't know. I didn't sense him leaning one way or another. Like,
I think maybe Chris, if I'm putting words in your mouth, Chris, you'll correct me, but I got the impression that like this is a movie that in doing everything that you've described, James, I think this movie like subconsciously leans right. Although Chris, you spoke of quietism.
Yeah. No, you're right though. Like,
yeah, there's that kind of right-wing thought that it like pretends that it's above everything, and that I'm just saying things as they really are. And I think this is exactly where, it's sort of like libertarian leaning thing. And it's more subtle than I like you say, like, I agree with you, James. Like if you're expecting just like something purely racist or just like a really simplistic dynamic, it doesn't give you that.
Well, I did based on the reviews, like, or based on the amount of controversy. I thought, oh, this is going to be aggressive in its push in that direction, but it wasn't really. Like, but like you say too, it was subtle. Like, but the right leaning like characters were smarter, they were positioned better, they were and then that was throughout the film. But then arguably, like, the bulldozer guys and gunmen were also sort of part of that, like capitalist sphere, so it's not like they were portrayed in a great light.
We're the stupidest characters, and it's like, it's Alejandro, like he's like just like not stupid, but he's like so like over the top gross.
Oh yeah.
And then he gets character, the suicide for the that was my favorite. I went and watched that again a few times.
Oh, the suicide got me. That was one of the moments where I was like, oh, I jumped. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, this movie did do that for like again after the plane crash, when everything it looks like everything's kind of calmed down for just 1 second, and then someone like runs directly into the propeller and like
That was awesome.
so good. Like he can, like, the Eli Roth is very good at that, as just like these sudden shocks of violence that are perfectly appropriate to the scene, but and then everything calms down again for a little bit afterwards. And you're like, did that just happen?
I like that after they crash, the guy is like, there's a guy just sitting there. He's like a pile of meat, basically. And then what I guess maybe it's just shock. The guy's like, is everyone okay? You're like,
oh yeah, and like there's people dead in their seats. Like,
what do you say in that moment though?
Yeah.
You got to ask.
Okay.
Everyone's vomiting, so like, which is so like. It was like more of like, you know what I mean? I don't know. You see a show like Lost, where it's like so cinematic and just sitcom-y, and then you get this version of a plane crash, where everybody's fucking splayed, and the guy that gets the tree to the face, oh god,
yeah,
that's great.
Just
such crude effects too, like a bunch of fucking silicone and hamburger meat, like.
Okay, so let's just for 1 second though, so back to the controversy things surrounding this. Like, I think if you watched it in 2013 and you weren't really ready for it, like, actual cannibalism wasn't really like, that's not really something that you did. I don't think it's still something that you do now. Like, it's a niche and understandably visceral experience probably for a lot of people,
Right.
And the fact that it was like a Native American tribe, South American, but that's I think that's just going to activate some feelings in people, and I don't really blame them.
Yeah. I guess I think it was just the all the pictures and the information about Eli and the tribe and them being so grateful to participate in the film and things like that just took the piss out of all the racism, and just made the cannibalism like a joke.
Well, now that I know that that's like, or at least now that I've heard that that's the case, that does make it even funnier to me, because like, what a sport to pick up that tongue, and wearing all that makeup and stuff, and just like, and to eat it in front of everyone, or pretend to eat it in front of everyone.
At the same time, there's something a little bit like, literally they float by, just happen to see this village and get out, and he's like, this is the perfect place, like this is exactly what I was looking for. Makes contact with this tribe, shows them, as you said, cannibal holocaust. They think it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. They're all game. And just like, what a beautiful, like, if to have that, like, there aren't really cannibal tribes anymore from what I understand, and yet this is the image that, like, at the heart, they still like this heart of darkness journey that he's on, to try to deeper into the Amazon than anyone's been, trying to look for something like this. And what he finds is just this like community of people who are just like, hey, sure, why not? Let's do it. It's just kind of subtly and beautifully undermines that sort of thrust of the movie.
Yeah, again, I haven't seen this footage or this documentary or whatever, but okay, so I'm sure, like in the back of my head, I can hear a voice from, the critical voice that is just like, well, isn't that actually a form of colonialism in some sense? Like,
yeah, I felt like you might say that too. That it's just like you just recruited a bunch of people for free, sort of like an exploitation, right?
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
can
I'm
image of
curious.
yourself like you're not too, right? Like, which is fine. Like they were like totally into it, so that's great. Like it sounded like it was a beautiful experience in a way.
Yeah. So okay, well, I got a bunch of questions now because like I had no idea. The red paint on everybody. Like I assume that the tribe didn't have a bunch of red paint on them. Maybe I'm wrong. It just struck me as like too perfect. I really like that effect. Just everything tinged with red and constantly. Do we know anything about that?
No, actually.
I had wondered if I didn't see anything.
Yeah, good sports. Again, getting back to being good sports. To if they don't wear red all the time, that was probably a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, I posted a bunch of pictures in the chat just so you could see sort of like a couple of things, but yeah, there's not. They're mostly just like sort of articles about the whole thing like vaguely, but I don't know if there's like footage of everybody hanging out. I'll have to go putter around on YouTube, but
The kids were
Probably.
involved. The kids were really excited. They taught them how to say action and cut, and they kind of did the director thing, like, so that was fun.
They clearly got the kids involved. Like when that another favorite scene is when that and that I would have. It's weird. I wanted them to hammer more on this when that girl gets horrible diarrhea.
Right.
And all the kids are laughing and they're like rubbing, they're like fanning their nose or whatever. I was just like, I really would have liked to have seen her die of like dengue fever or something. Like I think
like
that would have been really
diphtheria.
something really awful. Like I thought they were going down that route and we really weren't, and I was kind of disappointed.
I know,
But
that's what I mean. Like there were like even the deaths had like a lot of punches were pulled. There were no rapes. Like there was no like you say, there was no like brutal like, oh, okay, I shouldn't say that, but there I just
So-
I feel like some of it was, there were parts of it that were softened, like
well, when they hack up the first guy, like it's not even like he doesn't even scream properly. Like it's like it's not like it's not sufficiently like it looks stupid. Like it and you've said like that it's comedic. Like later on, their plan is they shove a bunch of marijuana
Oh my god, yeah.
into the suicide girl's mouth, and then they and they're like, okay, when they cook her, everybody will get high and will escape. Like that's a Cheech and Chong plot.
that also, that was like enough weed to get 3 guys high.
Yeah.
And you can't hotbox the outdoor Amazon.
No. Well, I think
That's
I was infused in the meat, I guess, is what the thinking
Yeah.
was. That's how I. But I don't think it works like that. I'm not. I don't. Not a
Even if
chemist.
it isn't knockout gas, like Eli Roth seems to think.
Well, I don't think he does because he strikes me as a man who's gotten high in the past. But it doesn't. It just adds to the cartoonishness of all of this. Like that's such a ridiculous plot. And then they get the munchies and eat everybody. Like started eating that guy alive.
They even say the Scooby-Doo gag.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the little self-awareness. Did you guys say to yourself, because I like said to myself, oh no, that's a bad plan. They're gonna get the munchies, and then that can't be a problem, right? That's horrible.
It honestly didn't occur. I didn't understand what they were doing until everybody started getting high, and then I was like, oh wait a minute, I must have I spaced out for a second. I missed this brilliant fucking plan being put together. And then then obviously I put it together and had the same thought that you had.
What about the guy that gets eaten by the fucking ants? Well, I found that actually was like one of the better scenes, like because he was just beating him with that club and breaking his bones.
Yeah.
Like, letting him fucking howl up on the tree. That was pretty gross.
But even
that one you had to use your imagination a bit more. It was.
Well, when she finds him later, though, the ants are all gone, and they just didn't have the CGI for it. Like I wanted to see him like being eaten alive by a bunch of ants, and like he seems totally like not fine because he's all busted up or whatever. But like the ants are all gone, and So what was the point of that?
I think that was torture. I think there are those ants that like their stings are supposed to be like as painful as being shot. I think that's what
Wow.
they're doing.
Okay. And so they eat all that green stuff and then they fuck off. And so they're not cannibal ants. It's alluded to at the when that anthropologist lady, who's just like the caricature of your like grumpy sort of lesbian anthropologist, like she's just really like insists on calling it female genital mutilation, describes it in the worst terms possible, and that's fine. Like I have no sympathy for that particular practice, but but then it cuts to after she talks about that one that FGM, and now the ant ordeal, and so it's alluded to briefly in the lectures. So,
Oh, that's a nice touch. I didn't even catch that.
Well, I've been flipping through this movie. I'm sick of this fucking movie. If I never see this goddamn movie again, I'll be so.
It's so fucking. That's what I
so
mean. Like it was so meh. Like it was a splatter movie. But like it wasn't even as aggressive or offensive as a Rob Zombie Halloween remake. It was just soft. It was B, like, and there were so many things that were deliberate. Like you're deliberately like had kids running away with mannequin legs. Like it fucking wasn't. It was I was more like stunned by the production quality and bizarreness of the whole thing. But
That's true. And I mean, Roth's background, like Cabin Fever is a B movie. It's his best work.
Cabin Fever made me sick. Like,
yeah, it's disgusting. It's like it does what it's gonna do, and it's for good or for ill. It's like it's just operating on that level with no reservation. That's really his wheelhouse. But I don't know. It's what I'm gonna take that back. I really like Knock Knock. It's not a good movie, but it's fun.
I want to watch. I want to see
that.
I want to see his version of Death Wish too. Like I watching this movie, I found myself like and again, I don't want to give him too much credit, but I was like, okay, he's thinking. Like there's thought behind this, and there's an aesthetic behind this. Like he's got something. It even made me want to watch Hostel. I was like, and so I watched some videos on YouTube, like summaries, like showing off.
Hostel's aggressive. Hostel's good.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good horror movie. He's responsible for that.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean. Like he did Hostel and Cabin Fever. Those are stiff movies. Those hang in there with like the most like visceral and gory movies like available, like in horror. But this should, I mean, based on all the fucking angry people, like I thought this was gonna be one of those, and it wasn't. Yeah. It's something else. I don't know.
By the way, guys, do you like, speaking of something else, we didn't really talk about this yet, but his vision for this, he said he wanted to make something like a Werner Herzog film. And going deep into the jungle, and he was so proud of this, like that they were deeper than anyone had ever filmed. People got sick. People like were bitten by snakes and spiders, like just horrible experiences.
Maybe that's part of it.
The scene where that girl, when Justine like steps into the river and like gets swept away, that was like an actual thing that happened. She almost drowned, and he's like, "Yeah, I just used it in the film because why
Jesus."
not?"
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah, her screams were real. They used it. I guess everyone consulted about it after the fact and used it in the film. But yeah, she got caught by undertow and almost drowned. And she was like screaming in real horror. Like,
the more I learn about this movie, the more it makes sense to me. Which, good, because like it would be sometimes the more you learn about something, the more baffled you are by it. But like, sorry, one of you said just now, or like one of the reasons this movie might not be so good is just because they went so far into the fucking jungle.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of going to dip into, was just to say like maybe they were just like limited in what they could deliver because he didn't have certain things available to them. You know, so in that case, I would be fairly proud of the production value of this.
What's so much work for so little, though? This is such a waste. Like, you know, it makes more sense to me why everything exists the way it does, and what I'm seeing in this movie. But like let's go back to when they're in Peru. So they arrive in Peru and they're driving around in those little carts with all the movie star names, and it's like it's 3 minutes and it's the most incompetent fucking thing. You're in this new space, and the only thing the camera can do is look at the actors. Like, it doesn't show you anything interesting. It's just like, look at these people driving around, and that's the least, like, the instinct of this film is to look at the least interesting thing at any given time and then not stop looking at it.
That's true.
Yeah. And it's like, it just like, I'm like, God, this is so boring. It just seems such amateur hour bullshit, you know, and like, but then again, like, it's filming in the middle of nowhere, and maybe that factors into it too. Like, I don't want to apologize for a shitty fucking cinematography, but might have to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's I don't know, like yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on the ending. I did like the vampire bite.
The vampire bite. What do you mean? Sorry, I don't remember.
Like when she like
What
dreamed that she was like this creature and then fucking feasted on Alejandro's neck. He's like, I made it out.
Yeah.
Like the cheesy dream wake up sequence.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going over to that now. I like her makeup and stuff. Like when they gussy. Of course, they're gonna female genital mutilate her.
Oh, her old man.
Yeah, that's right.
What's that?
Her old nemesis.
Yeah.
Genital mutilation.
And I was like, okay, of course that's gonna happen. You know, like, it's her. Yeah, it does play a lot. Like, we already talked about the cannibal or whatever, but it does, like, how does she escape, and how does she, because she teaches the savage music. And again, I don't want to give Eli Roth too much credit, but, like, you know, the figure of the cannibal was thought to be, like, you know, the individual in a state of nature, but it was like pre-artistic. So they were very much like us, and they were a mirror for us, but, like, they hadn't learned amusement yet. It is how they thought about it in the 16th century. And so, like, she comes in and she, like, plays her little flute, and the little boy is smitten with her, and then, like, assists her in the escape. But like, he's the savage that kills the ant torture guy.
Yeah, that's right.
He's the one that can do it, you know, because he's sufficiently savage still, but also he's learned mercy through music. Sorry, go ahead.
And she's still denying reality at that point, like, you know, like, just kill me, because, like, this, you know, I'm not getting out of here. And she's like, no, well, I'll come back, I'll save you. The kid's the one who recognizes the reality of the situation.
Yeah. And is willing, like, and honestly though, like, how do you even kill someone? You know, like, it's
he does it like with mercy too.
Yeah.
Blows the magic dust to sort of to numb him so that he can just slit his throat and peacefully bleed out.
Yeah.
So gentle.
Yeah.
You gonna make anything that Jaguar, like, passage at the end, or
I don't know.
like, is it or something?
I'm not sure.
Is it measuring her spirit? Like, she kind of, like, comes face to face with the Jaguar.
The symbolism of the Jaguar.
Oh, right. Well, I think that's like when she does the bite. Isn't she like a Jaguar in that moment?
Oh,
she become the Jaguar at that point?
I think so.
Or her spirit surpassed it. She's savage enough to escape.
I guess so. I forgot about that. And she's kind of has, like, little Jaguar spots on her body, like, as she's. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I don't. I
I'm
forgot.
trying not to read too far into it either.
Yeah. Like, because it doesn't do anything. It just sits there as a symbol. Like, it's just meant to be like a symbol of savagery and the danger of the. And actually, oh shit,
Proven herself, right? Like,
she walks by the jaguar, and they're about to blow dart her again. The tribe, and then like they see that the jaguar is letting her walk by, and they let her go. So she's like,
I realize that. So yeah, she's proven her spirit. She's allowed to pass. She's one of them.
Right.
I mean, that is what they're trying to do throughout the, like, she's recognized as someone to be initiated into the tribe, and that's why they're doing the female genital mutilation to her.
Yeah, and she, because like they stab her with the thing, and I'm assuming they break her hymen, and so like it's implied that she's a virgin, is how I read that anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty much the direction I think for that scene.
Yeah, and then actually, and then it fits right into like horror trope. She's the last girl, because she's virginal. It's like it's too. Again, I don't like thinking about Eli Roth in this way, but I like that there's just too many things at work here that seem like there's consciousness and awareness and playfulness.
He does have a vision, like that's the thing.
Yeah,
he's not without method.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like this movie, I want to watch his other movies. Like I do want to watch Knock Knock. Really interests me. Death Wish interests me.
You love Knock Knock, James.
People love it, or people don't love it.
You will. I don't think people love it.
I'll love it. I could tell I'm gonna love it. It's just like, yeah, it's all smutty and fucking horrible, and I'm just like, that's perfect. That's
I gotta look up the trailer for this later.
Well, these two girls show up at his, like, so this happily married dad, he sends his family off on vacation, and then these two teenage girls show up at the door in the rain, and he invites them in, and then they seduce him, and he fucks them all night, but then they terrorize him for days afterwards. It's Keanu Reeves.
Keanu?
Yeah, sorry, I buried the lead there.
Oh my gosh, it's fucking Justine again.
Yeah.
That's right.
Who married Eli Roth? They got divorced in 2019. So this movie brought them together, and
it's a beautiful story.
Beautiful coming of age. Yeah, you know what? So they went deep into the jungle, and she fell in love. I don't know what to do with this movie. Like, this was such a, like, again, what a waste. So much money and effort and damage. Like to go so like deep into the jungle or whatever, like for what? For this? Like you could have done this with a soundstage, dude. You could have done this in Nebraska, or like doesn't especially look like a jungle most of the time. Like Predator looked more like a jungle than this fucking movie.
Oh no.
Oh, that's true. He's he's kind of spun his wheels since. I mean, he did. I think Knock Knock is 2015 or something like that. But I don't see a lot on his like a lot of anthology stuff. I don't know if there's any major features since then.
Well, there was the Death Wish with the remake of Death Wish, but I mean, I don't know if that's a major.
It had a budget. Like Bruce Willis is that, right?
Yeah. Vincent D'Onofrio. That is all. I don't know, some other names that you would recognize, but it looks like shit. Fucking, I watched the trailer. I was like, does not, because like the original Death Wish, like I was like, oh, this is perfect for this guy, because the original Death Wish is the guy's wife gets like brutally raped by street gangs, and I don't know if this movie is going to really press on that exploitation in the way that you would expect from this guy. Maybe I'm wrong because I haven't seen the movie, but like it didn't seem it from the trailer. It didn't even seem like it was really emphasizing the fact that like that he was on this, he had the death wish because of sexual violence,
So James, you were horribly offended on Zack Snyder's behalf when
me yeah
James dug up that article saying that he was the Zack Snyder of horror. What's your opinion on that now?
Oh, Zack Snyder's not as smart as this guy, as Eli for one, and I know that's like, so I don't like to compare them like that. Zach's like, okay, so this is a very political movie. So I just don't like, Snyder's not political, so we don't have the list of comparisons aside. Snyder's all visual, like completely visual, and loves to watch like muscular bodies moving extremely slowly, doing like these heroic acts. And Eli Roth's like we've been saying this whole time, it's just fucking flat. Maybe this movie's not a good representation of anything, but like this isn't about image making. This is about like gross out visceral moments. And and yeah, I just like, you go down the list, and I don't think the comparison's apt. And I think that, yeah, like, Snyder's like a Michael Bay for me. Like he gets his own category and gets left alone. And just don't. The comparisons to Eli Roth just seem really inappropriate, and to the disadvantage of both parties.
It was the Eli Roth of, or the Zack Snyder of horror, and even like B movies would be more accurate than the way it was expressed. But I don't know. But I guess that's not fair too, because Zack Snyder's first thing was
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, and a great one. Like, and actually, like both. But I mean, some of the points were like both of their first movies were their best, and like each one has been increasingly disappointing since. So.
All right. Okay. So here, their films are visually striking. Eli Roth's are not. Their films are often extremely violent. Go on. Sorry, you cut out a little bit there, Chris.
Sorry, Cabin Fever's pretty visually striking. It's a mess.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Again, maybe extremely violent. I think that goes to Roth. Great hype, usually followed by massive disappointment. I think people complain about these movies more than hate them. But that's just like an outsider looking in. Because like, if you look at the sales, like ultimately the sales decide if these were successful movies or not. Ostensibly political, but contain hard to discern incoherent messages. I think if this movie's any indication, then Eli Roth doesn't have an incoherent message. Zack Snyder always has an incoherent message. That guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. The fans are insufferable and highly vocal. That I bet that's true. First directed films are their best reviewed films. I don't know, but that sounds accurate. They were their hottest in 2009. Yeah, I don't know. Inglourious Bastards is not an Eli Roth film, so I don't know what they're talking about. Anyway, it just goes on and on. Everybody just wants them to go away, and that's not true. I kind of want more Eli Roth in my life now.
Have you guys seen the trailer for this shark documentary that he's doing?
Oh, Finn. No, I haven't seen the trailer. No, but
yeah, very. I didn't watch it with audio, but very intense looking, like a real documentary,
about shark fin soup, I'm assuming, or like hunting sharks for their fins.
Yeah, I guess so, and different like the amount of sharks being killed and run into extinction and the practices and so on, like sort of a full, I guess, I don't know, maybe he is a big Werner Herzog fan.
Yeah, well, and there's an irony to that, because like,
yeah,
Green Inferno, as if it's taught us nothing, it's taught us that protest is useless and not to be trusted, and will swallow you up, and it's just part of the capitalist enterprise. And yeah, but here he is making a protest film. Yeah, just living out his Alejandro. He is Alejandro. Jesus. Sorry, I'm just looking at the trailer right now with he's really upset about these fins. Yeah, so do we got anything else on Green Inferno?
No, we nailed it.
No, I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Well then, yeah, I don't know. Let's go back. Let's thumbs up or thumbs down. James, thumbs up or thumbs down? You got two choices.
I gotta give that a thumbs down. It's not it like, there, I don't know, there's some like, it's interesting, like if you want to know more about Eli Roth and you're a real big horror buff, I'd say yeah, like go for the ride, but that's not something I'm adding to my library.
There we go. I'm gonna give it a. Sorry, Chris, did you want to go or?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. Because I think I'm gonna remember this movie more than I want to think I'm gonna remember this movie. I'm gonna think about this movie more than especially like everything you guys have told me. This is a small bit of an artifact, and it exists in a larger context than I realized. And the more I look at this movie and the more I think about it, the more I'm like troubled by the fact that Eli Roth has such a vision. Whether it's stupid or not is a different question, but I'm always interested in when someone has a vision, because like most people don't. So I guess thumbs up just for that fact.
That's fair. I would give it a thumbs down, but I will say that often when I watch a movie, especially if it's mediocre, I just kind of like grinding my teeth. I want to get up. I want to move around. This one does have a kind of gravity to it where I don't know if I wanted to know what was happening next, but I did watch what was happening next and I followed it, and I don't know, there's something to be said to be able to pull you into a movie even if it's a festering pile of shit. So good on him for that.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
That's it. Yeah, I'm just going to Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, I was gonna say no one added any jerks to that either.
Oh, that's true. That's a shame. It's the best jerk off scene. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
That's when the fucking dude jumps on him and starts strangling him,
And then
he keeps fapping.
Still jerking.
He's like, yes. Finally, the light strangulation I needed to finish the job. Jesus Christ. I was like, okay, all right.
Oh, and he just kept going. Like that was it's just like he's having the conversation the whole time, and he's like justifying himself. He's like, and I just love that he tells everybody that they should be doing the same. Like this is how you survive this situation. It was
just like mansplaining jerking off, or like just like wet lewdly jerking in.
He was a 5-star villain.
Oh yeah, really? Yeah, maybe that's definitely part of it. Like. God, like, and I like that, like, he's creepy, and then, like, suddenly he becomes fucking terrible, like a true villain. Like, all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness.
He was creepy, and he was a little verbally abusive, and then it just, like, backslid into the worst, like, the worst human traits.
Anyway, I guess we didn't nail it. Now we nailed it. And so jerk it, everybody. It's the best way to stay alive in stressful situations.
Like a Grant comic.
The best way to celebrate Christmas.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.